I mean, I get it. We have some great entertainers out there. We can't take anything away from them, regardless of, you know, what we may think about them, their content, what they speak on. Um, we all have our things, our preferences, I'll say. But when it comes to these people who are touted as being great entertainers and those that we love and respect, I'm just bothered by the fact that these same great entertainers, a lot of them choose to just explicitly use the N word in their music, especially in hip hop. Like, why is that so necessary? How come these particular entertainers can't articulate themselves in a way to exclude that word? And yeah, I just think it's something that keeps coming up because it is something that I think needs to be addressed in a way that we put that word to rest. I mean, I have greater expectations for people who are woke, who are wise and intelligent, who speak, wisdom and truth to power, to also respect those who came before us. I have those expectations. So listen, I'm gonna need y'all to stop using the N word in your music by tomorrow or more. Okay, I know that's no way to start the show, right? So I will be right back. Well, hello, hello, and welcome to In Your Ear Radio. I am your host, Latoya. So very happy to be with you today. So grateful for this beautiful Saturday. It's so lovely outside. The wind's blowing. It's a little breezy, a little cool. But the sun, you can see the sky. The sun is shining bright and it's beautiful. And you guys noticed that we kind of hopped on a little late today. It's been yeah. Listen, I showed up. Okay, I'll just let y'all know off top. My notes got all screwed up, but I got this. Your girl got this. And some other things were going on behind the scenes, so I wasn't able to pull up. You know, as I do on time usually. But shout out to y'all in the chat. Shout out to GB, who's always first in the chat. Appreciate you for pulling up for your girl. But let me go ahead and put this on, share this video while you guys hop in. Please like and share. And subscribe if you haven't to the YouTube channel. I love and appreciate you for it. If you would, I'm just sharing this to my group. If I can get it right this time, I'll be sharing the old videos instead of the new one. Okay, I did it. It's posted. All right. Okay, so yeah, how y'all doing out there? Everybody all right? I'm good. I'm good. Happy belated Valentine's Day. That was yesterday, right? And shout out to Frederick Douglass, who also celebrated his birthday when he was living, born in 1818, on February 14th as well, as we know it as Valentine's Day. And back then when he was born, they didn't keep records of those who were enslaved as far as their birth date. So there was no actual. I don't think they know his exact date of birth, but he chose the 14th, and so that's what we'll do. We'll celebrate him. And for those, excuse me, who may not know, he's an author. He was a great orator, abolitionist. Was many of the first in many of his in the things that he accomplished. And shout out to Frederick Douglass. And all of you guys, did you guys enjoy celebrating Valentine's Day? As you guys know, I'm not really a holiday person, but I will get out in these streets and turn up if need be. You know what I'm saying? But it's not necessary. I don't need anybody to designate a day for me to do it big. I might just do it on the 15th or the 13th or in January. But it's nothing wrong with reminding everybody of love and celebrating love. It's a lot different than it used to be back in the day when it was just like the guys catering to the women, right, on Valentine's Day. More so now, even parents cater to their children. They recognize them and show them love to other people, not just their significant other or companion. So it's nothing wrong with recognizing love, however it came around. Because yeah, the whole story behind it is I'm not going to be a buzz killer, but it is what it is, right? So, but yeah, I enjoyed myself, y'all. I went and checked out Babyface last night. Woof, that man, no, he is talented. And what I really love about watching him in concert is that when he performs, he not only sings the songs that he wrote and actually sang, but he also sings songs that he actually wrote for other artists like Tony Braxton. I mean, he wrote the whole Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. You just think of somebody. He's written for so many of the greats, and he's just a talented man. I just love him because you could tell he talks about being a boy and just always being in love and always was friend zoned and just wrote songs about love. And a lot of the songs he wrote were, relatable in his life, but also again being friend zone and having being around women and hearing their love stories. So I just thought it was really sweet. I had a great time, my sweetie and I, enjoying Valentine's Day here in Las Vegas, enjoying Babyface. So that's what's up. It's still FUBU February, y'all. I was telling you about this, listening to the Larry Daniel Favor show. A lot of us are doing our boycotts: Target, Walmart, Sam's Club. We bigging up Costco. We bigging up certain banks. They said J.P. Morgan, but they got a sticky history with me as well. So I don't, I'm not giving them a pass. But I mean, for those places that some of us may not be spending our money at, shout out to people who are finding Black businesses to spend their money with. And the idea of FUBU February, which y'all know that's an acronym for Us by Us, that came out by the back in the day. We had the designers, one we know very popular, Damon John, who's on Shark Tank. But FUBU, For Us by Us, we go and find, we don't necessarily have to buy everything Black. Maybe we'll have a blackout day, but the goal is to start to train ourselves to look for Black products first. So if we're shopping for dish detergent, maybe Google a Black owned product maker for dish detergent. And so maybe just one thing that you spend your money on. A shout out to my sweetie who found a local smog person who does the smog inspections, Black owned business. And now he has a forever business person to go to that's Black, just one business. With me, I said one of the particulars is, my lipstick, which is Black owned lip bar product maker. But there's so many Black owned businesses, before we think about first, when we have to go buy something, we can just take that extra step to Google, or I don't know about Google anymore too, y'all, because Google, they doing some things with, changing stuff around with the words and phrases and whatnot, and trying to omit Black people and just bowing down to y'all's president, trying to erase us. But search, that term we use is kind of like saying, Google is kind of like saying Pepsi when we mean any cola, right? Well, some of us, because I don't, if I'm gonna drink a soda, which is very, very rare, I might drink a fourth of a Pepsi. I'm going to drink Pepsi, not Coke, not Coca-Cola. It's going to be Pepsi. But, in general, we usually say when we're talking about a brown, a cola, we say, like Pepsi or Coke, but we could mean anything, right? But that's what I mean by Google. So just go in and search. You can use the search engine on the internet. You don't have to use that particular domain to search to find Black businesses. And I'll list a few. If my list is still here, I know I kept some in the in my chat. So these are some Black websites you can go to for Black businesses to shop Black. Indivisible.org, Shop Black, shopblacklive.com, Black app. That's one. Shopthehood.org, buyfromablackwoman.com. So those are just some of the businesses that you can patronize, or more. There's more. And y'all noticed in the beginning, I was saying or more, and that just tickled me. If you guys haven't heard the story about the Pakistani lady, and I don't know if this is true, but she's a Black woman from Brooklyn who did some type of marriage to some 19-year-old who lives in Pakistan, flew out to the country. His parents saw her and was like, nah, babe, you can't, no. And so I guess they're saying she had some type of filter. So maybe he thought the girl was Beyonce or looked like Beyonce, but when she pulled up, if y'all seen her, she wears like a white powder and she be having her lipstick popping. But anyways, she probably didn't look like he expected. And, she's definitely a little different. But anyway, that's her phrase, or more. So she's in Pakistan. Now they turned their back on her, the family. And, the thing is she should be going home, right? And instead of going home, she's demanding to get money and she wants to reconstruct. It's funny to say, but we got to laugh to keep from crying. And I love a little levity in my life, but she has to reconstruct. She's demanding money to reconstruct the country. Pakistan, and yeah, so she's saying things like, I need $1,500 by the end of the week or more. I just love when she says or more. I'm like, that's how you do it. That's lawyer jargon there. You know what I'm saying? You don't leave anything off the table. So Oh gosh. Yeah, I got to get the name of the small company. I'll definitely let you know. Yeah, because he just told me about it yesterday. But yeah, and he was a good dude too. He was happy that he met him. And so yeah, I'll give you the name. I don't have it off the top of my head. I'll maybe even text to see if he can give it to me while we're live. But yeah, so she's a Pakistani lady or more. And so she's demanding money. She's telling him she's gonna clean up. She needs 100K so she can start redoing the streets and cleaning up because the country's it was just a hot mess. But the Pakistanis are interviewing her and having conversations with her. People want to represent her legally. It was just really funny. It's a distraction. I wonder if it's a real distraction or just a real person because her family reported again from Brooklyn that she does have mental issues and maybe that's what it is. But she is funny. And listen, she ain't said nothing I didn't like yet. I mean, you making demands? You smart? You want money? And I think they were actually giving her money. But anyway, so if you hear me say or more here and there periodically, just noted I'm referencing that, and I think that is funny as hell. So that's what it is. But yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed Babyface. Ooh, last week y'all was Nas. I'm still just on cloud nine from that concert. Awesome, fantastic. I love the way when people come to Vegas and perform, they bring out the culture of Vegas with the Vegas strip dancers, the tall ladies with them legs, and just making it do what it do, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, that was nice, and I got to do that, and I was grateful for that as well. And if you guys don't know, last week was National Toothache Day, so I posted a little picture of a baby with the little sharp teeth. Y'all know if y'all have ever had kids and y'all try to play, feed them, even try to feed them. Don't let your fingers slip in their mouth. They got them little sharp teeth. They'll bite the mess out of you. So I thought that was kind of funny, because the post just said that basically, whatever you do, no matter how smart you are, if you got sense, don't put your finger near no baby's mouth. The little sharp teeth, they sharp. But I posted that to highlight the fact that the importance of oral hygiene and how significant it is in our overall health, specifically our high blood pressure and just basically heart disease and things like that. You'd be surprised how your body is affected by possible infections you may have. Just a toothache could be it could be infecting your whole body. So if you can, go to the dentist at least twice a year, every 6 months, so you can get your exams and let them check it out. And there's resources here in Las Vegas. You can go to UNLV, the School of Medicine, and have those students assist you. They are being trained. I mean, some people are like, I ain't letting no student do that, but listen, doctors are practicing as well with degrees. They are practicing. Thank you very much. So there are resources out there and websites you can use. And I'll see if I can remember to pull up some of the locations you can go to, or a website you can go to in your community to learn more and to find out where to go and get assistance. Some of the places, again, and this community health centers like a university, there are some insurance programs, Veterans Affairs. If you're a veteran, you can get your oral hygiene care there. Clinical trials, so a lot of people don't realize, there's trials like with sleep apnea and things like that, and all different kinds, and there's some for oral hygiene. So you can be part of clinical trials and get stuff you need. Some of y'all might want to get a whole new grill, you know what I'm saying? So, and again, there are some dental schools, but you can also go to find out where there is assistance near you in your state or city at hrsa.gov, hrsa.gov. So if you guys see my post, yeah, I know you guys watched the Super Bowl. I didn't even get a chance to watch the halftime. I said I was going to watch that later with Kendrick Lamar and SZA, and I still haven't had a chance to talk about it or watch it. So I can't really speak to it, except that my family was live in the chat talking about the Super Bowl and just interpreting it and giving their takeaway. And it was fun to hear their perspective. And I was proud of the takeaways. I like, from what I hear, what Kendrick brought to that moment, which I respect, just basically speaking to, racism. As we know, they removed end racism on their sideline or end zone because y'all's president decided he wanted to show up and be the first president ever to attend a Super Bowl championship game at the cost of over 20 million, maybe, to taxpayers, while he's cutting people's jobs out here. But yeah, so I liked a lot of what I was seeing, just discussing the flag. They said the platform was in resemblance of a prison grounds, and turn the TV off and just different things. And, the overall consensus for those who are of the culture and know who Kendrick Lamar is and understand hip hop, they was feeling it. They understood he understood the assignment and what his messaging was. And those same people, the consensus was it wasn't entertaining. It wasn't it wasn't a head bobber. It wasn't like, get up and dance. It was more like entertaining mentally. If you're an intellectual and sometimes you just like to, be fed, that was the entertaining aspect of it. And then you had people who aren't of the culture, probably majority white people or maybe older people from a different generation, the boomers or whatnot, that couldn't really vibe with it because they're not familiar with this music and couldn't just keep up with the word. Because, he kind of, I can't say his dialect is very clear in the way he speaks, but I could understand why some people wouldn't just picking up everything he was putting down. So I get it. And I like that. And, there was a lot of controversy about him performing Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl halftime, considering that he's from the West Coast, LA. And then we have some, in New Orleans, we have great entertainers already that could have been recognized. And I understand why Lil Wayne wasn't a part of it, and I ain't mad about it. Shout out to Christy. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me on Facebook. And you guys remember, if you got anything you want to add to the conversation, the chat is open. I probably won't be here very long with you guys, but I'm committed to showing up on Saturday. So that's why I'm here today. I do have some things I want to share, but we might not do the whole hour and a half like we normally do. It might be a little less. But yeah, if you guys want to add to the conversation, please feel free to do so. So I understand the controversy behind not letting someone from, New Orleans headline. And then I also understand why. But yeah, Kendrick was a good look. I appreciate the way Kendrick Lamar did his thing. And shout out to Marmac. He said, politics aside, Kendrick Lamar did his thing. Yeah. So, I mean, from what I take away from it, it was all political. So, do tell, elaborate, besides that, was it just, did you find it to be entertaining? Like if you weren't just looking for messages, was it like concert worthy? Would you go see him just based on that performance? Or was it just all, political? But yeah, I heard he did his thing and I'm proud of him, for coming out with it. Chrissy said the symbolism was top tier. I'm gonna go watch it, y'all. I'm gonna check it out because I definitely wanted to see it. I just didn't want to give the clicks and algorithms to the actual Super Bowl, which I know I'm hearing was the most watched Super Bowl halftime show yet. Okay, so for a lot of people who didn't get it, a lot of people did, and a lot of people tuned in, and a lot of people were fed, and that's awesome. Shout out to Lettucey, who sang the Black National Anthem. Who else? I didn't get to see SZA's performance. I don't know how she did. But yeah, it was, America's thing, right? This is America's thing. Yeah. Shout out to Mr. Shabazz, who said that the halftime show was revolutionary as well as entertaining. Okay. Yeah. Cause it was he said, you turn the TV off. It was a lot of references. And again, I'm just going by what, memes and quotes. I didn't watch it myself to be able to give it my own interpretation, but I can understand where people were coming from. In their perspective. Then Serena pulled up, right? Sea walking. I mean, she did her thing, but I didn't see some people. Shout out to my baby brother Reese Cup, who's no longer with us, but that was his. I'd love to see him do the sea walk. And if I want to be approved, I could say, why are we celebrating gang culture, right? And then people come in and they break it down like it's not necessarily, the sea walk is not necessarily celebrating gang culture, but just a culture from the West Coast and just a dance we do. And I respect that too, because a lot of the things that we do, not knowing, understanding it, a lot of the things we do, not even knowing it, because it's in our DNA, it's just natural to us, as natural as it is for us to survive. We do, not realizing it's tribal. It's part of what we brought from the continent. Here to the United States, even, having a conversation about bonnets. And I watch old movies, referencing the African culture and people living there now, and they're dressed in formal wear and they're wearing something in the style of a bonnet, which a lot of people don't want to see people in public wearing. And I agree, I don't either, because of what it represents. But let me just talk about that for a minute, because I think we play semantics. We cannot like what we don't like. People shouldn't be pulling up in their house shoes, right? At the grocery store. They shouldn't be walking around in pajamas at the grocery store. And I don't think people should walk around with bonnets on. You go to bed, you get up, take it off, look presentable just for yourself. I think you feel better about yourself if you look and feel like you're prepared to just face the world, right? You ain't got to get all super fancy or whatnot, but just, brushing your teeth, combing your hair, washing your face, just the basics. But anyway, a lot of the things that we do, twerking, that's another thing. If you go watch African films with watching the culture, people on the continent of Africa from different countries in Africa, they're doing what we call twerking here in the United States. Been around long before we started making it a thing. And it's sexualized, right? It's not something we want our little daughters doing. It's definitely not something that me as a grown woman, mature woman, would be doing in public for sure. But if you look at these old you know, you look at the African culture, they're doing the exact same thing in rituals, celebratory, even in the passing of people, in the, like I said, in celebratory, in people moving up in the tribal society and things of that nature. So it means something differently. And again, it's just semantics, right? I even had this conversation when we talk about semantics. Like I said, you know, if a woman wears a hijab, that's a way to cover her hair. And we know the reason why she's doing that, not necessarily because she doesn't want to comb her hair, but it's part of her culture. So a person having a bonnet on, her hair is covered, but we look at it as if she's just lazy, or he, because it's men out here doing it too, and not respectful of presenting his or herself to society in a way, just not really caring about their presentation. But it's really semantics, right? Because people walk around with their hair covered. It just depends on the type of material you're putting on your head and how it looks. So we decide what's tacky. And I get it, but I will argue this as an intellectual. I even use the example when I talk about semantics. Bikinis, for example. We see women on the beach, you know, even men in their Speedos and they shirts off and they shorts on the beach, at the pool, in public areas. But this same woman, if her let's say her husband's male friend came to visit, she's walking around in maybe her underwear, bra and panties, she's going to put a robe on and cover up. What's the big difference though, from a bikini to your panties and underwear? I mean, it's literally, you look, it's you know, what's the difference is all I'm saying. Yeah. Chrissy said it's a huge pet peeve to see people in bonnets, that bonnets and PJs are meant for the house. I get it, but do you understand what I'm saying when I talk about semantics? Like, I get the fact that these things, based on the material and what society has said, this is for bedtime, or this is for in the privacy of your home. But this, because it's a totally different material, it's still two pieces. It's bra, it's not bra and panties, but it's doing the same thing. It's covering the hip area, the pelvic area, and it's covering the breast area in two pieces for the world to see on the beach. What make it, you know, and I've heard the arguments and I get it. Some people say, well, it's just a respect thing. And okay, but if you really think about it, society makes up these rules and then we turn our nose up at people, and why? So Marmac said, if he catches his daughter twerking out here, he applying the belt. Okay, wait a minute. I'm gonna have to get that book for you. Spare the ride, spare the ride. Yeah, but I hear you though, because I don't never want to see any little girl twerking, period. I just don't need, you don't need to be gyrating in that way. But I'm just saying, in other cultures, if we go back to the continent, when they're doing this, when these little girls are doing this, they're not being sexualized. They're not looked at as if they're doing something seductive or fast. They're being looked at as part of the culture, whatever they're doing in that ritual is what they do. So you know what I'm saying? Just a little semantics when we talk about this. But yeah, with the seawall, again, with the semantics, right? And again, it's not just about gang culture. And I get it, but are any blood sea walking? Have anybody? Let me sip my tea. Wait a minute. I got a question. Has anybody seen a blood sea walk? Does it exist? All right. Name one person in the hood that's blood that sea walks. Okay. So, okay. But yeah, they were also, you know, people were celebrating Serena. And I was happy for her. I saw some preliminary things she was doing before she actually performed. And she was lit. I was like feeling her energy. Like she was just in the dressing room, just like amped. And I was like, that's the type of energy I like to be around. People just ready and just, you know. So I was like, she probably inebriated. You know what I'm saying? Is that the right word? When you had some libations of some sort. She was lit. Okay, so they got the bloods, got the B-walk. But I'm saying, if we saying the C-walk isn't about gang culture and it's just part of our culture as a Black West Coast community, but bloods don't do it, I'm just saying.com, then can we really just, you know, discard that? But you're right. And what does the B-walk look like? I don't think I've ever seen it. I probably have. But I still like the dances, but I'm just saying. But anyways, people were pointing their finger at Serena, some people that wanted to judge because she was doing the dance, and they said, wait, didn't you lose your big sister to gang violence? I don't think that's a low blow. But people are always looking for stuff to say, but she also, along with her family, has contributed to many foundations that help to advocate and fight against gang violence. So like I said, I understand that we take things to the next level. And that just leads me on to the conversation of the N-word. Like Kendrick Lamar. Hi, brother. Kendrick Lamar. He, been touted as this great lyricist. And when I listen to him, listen, I listen. I ain't gonna hold you. He know what the hell he doing with them lyrics. I'm not mad at him at all. But it's hard to listen to when I'm bumping in my car and I let the windows down because it's blah 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 n word blah 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 n word, and it's like really. And I know what that word means. Whenever I hear it, my ancestors feel like they just be like, ooh, ooh, they cringing. And so it's not a good feeling to just hear it over and over and over again. I understand using it as a form of expression when you just get pissed off. But sometimes people can get called out of their name if that's how I'm feeling. But just on a regular basis, just calling somebody out their name, I'm not going to do that. If I do, I'm doing it as a form of disrespect. Or, some of us may say things, some derogatory words affectionately. And I think that's what the hip hop community thinks they're doing with this N word. And I'm just like, no, sir, no, ma'am. And here's the thing, with this word, I mean, if you think about who the greatest purchasers, the streamers, the people who listen to our music, purchase the music the most. I can't say who the biggest listeners are, but I know who pulls up to these hip hop concerts. And it's a lot of white people, black people, but it's a lot of people who are not of I won't say not of the culture, because I mean, shout out to the Asian community and the Caucasian community, the Latinas, the Latinos. A lot of us are of the culture when it comes to hip hop. So I want to say not of our race. So people that aren't black aren't going to be called the N word, or at least not to be disrespectful. But they're reciting your lyrics. They at the concert, yeah, bleep, bleep. Are they editing themselves? Or are they using that word? And I don't want to hear people, it's bad enough I got to hear my own people just use it over and over again. And like I said, when it's, when you got to say what you got to say, you're expressing yourself. Sometimes you got to be profane to be profound. But just to be using it all the time and in public in front of people, that kind of, because we giving them a pass. And if we're not giving them a pass, we confusing the hell out of them because we put it in our music. And I know when I listen to music, I close my eyes and I feel every word and I hold on to it and I internalize the music. That's why I'm very particular about what I listen to and voices that I hear, because I love melody. And then I also love good content. I'm listening to the words and expression because music, understands how I feel better than I do. So I'm in a place when I listen to music. I don't want white people hearing us calling each other N-word, calling anybody, or just using the word. That's just me. And I know I sound like a prude because a lot of people that I talk to across the board, at least, in my circle, aren't too bothered by N-word being in hip hop music. I went to an employee get together. It was after hours and celebrating a birthday, and the family was playing music. And as you know, at some point we're going to play hip hop, but it was a mixed crowd. Like I said, it's employees. So you got different races there. And then the music comes on and now you hear N-word and everybody's bobbing and having a good time. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just like, we couldn't edit that. I mean, if we by ourselves, amongst ourselves, having conversations, and we all do that, right? We don't talk about everything publicly in our lives. Some things we just talk about with our companions. Some things we just talk about with our brothers or our sisters, with our children, with people closest to us. We don't just go out publicly and do that. You know what I'm saying? So, why does it have to be public? Why does it have to be ingrained in our music? And then I can't even listen to my music the way I want to. I would love to play Kendrick Lamar and just bump him, at a public gathering. But I don't, it's elders there. They don't want to hear that. They're still around. They remember their loved one being hung and right before they were killed, castrated and had their genitals placed in their mouth, called the N-word. Okay, we can go back and forth about the history of it or whatnot, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we can't reserve that. We can't fall back on that. So you seen somebody do the B-Wop. Okay, so I'm gonna go look up DJ Quick and let him get it, because I like DJ Quick. So I didn't even know he danced. Maybe I just forgot. Yeah, I always like DJ Quick though. But shout out to DJ Quick. That's something my mom used to enjoy listening to as well. So yeah. And Chrissy said somebody gonna find something wrong with everything, and that's true. It's true when we talk about Serena. When we talk about just when it's something positive going on. And I'm gonna get into that more too, because one of my brothers sent me a clip from a person. What was his case? Just to let you know how much I know about this person. Even if I still have it on it with y'all, I lost all of my notes, and I'm gonna be doing. I might have to just go off the top of my head for a lot of it, but 19 Keys. So I was just introduced to him this week, and I know a lot of people knew him. My sweetie knew who he was. Certain people knew, but I wasn't familiar with him. But he was speaking some good. He was talking my language, and then it kind of went it went south for me, and I'm gonna get into that. I'm gonna talk about that because I'm building up my case against us taking this N word out because it is contradictory. You got all these wise words coming out, but you can't find a way to articulate yourself to say something other than that. Brothers sound so wholesome. Even if you're talking bad against somebody, yeah, if the brother do X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna let the brother know X, Y, and Z instead of the N word. Like it just gives it a whole nother connotation and it brings a level of peace than to use that N word. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm getting rid of the Google word too. So I'm going to search it. I'm going to do an internet search because I just was explaining Google. They trying to, omit, Black history from their search. Some other things they were doing, and of course, they bowing down to the president. They're changing the Gulf of the Gulf of Mexico. They're going with that name, the Gulf of America. And let me tell y'all something about this president. I mean, y'all already know he got some DEI. These are some didn't even earn it, underqualified, don't know what the hell they doing, people in positions of power, making changes. The good news is the world doesn't have to recognize the Gulf of America, even if it's changed. They don't have to recognize it. It's up to them to change it on their maps. It's up to them to change it in their conversations, in their history books or whatnot. It doesn't have to be recognized, even though it's legally changed, right? But it has been changed. But my thing is, y'all so ignorant. Y'all y'all switch it to the Gulf of America. Is it North America or is it South America? My friend just asked. Which one is it? Okay. Which one is it? And so that's how ignorant they are. They're so quick to change stuff that they don't even think about how to articulate themselves and be specific about what you meant by that. Say it with your whole chest. Isn't this all just to, put North America out there? So shouldn't it say the Gulf of North America? And so I was having this conversation with my cousin, just explaining how ignorant I think these people are, and they show and prove it. Even when they were coming out with all these executive orders and, shutting down this and shutting down that, they didn't even have that in order. They just throwing stuff out there, seeing what sticks to the wall. So again, it should be, if you're going to switch it, do it right and call it the Gulf of North America. But I'm not trying to help y'all. Y'all just slow and dumb and you don't listen anyway. But her argument was, when I had that, is, well, that he's trying to take over other countries. He wants, what was it? Which country was it? One of the Mexican countries that don't serve me right now, and I'm not Googling it. But and so she said, well, maybe he's saving space for the Latin countries and the Caribbean spots he plans to take over and include them. And I'm like, whatever, you can give him credit, but he ain't that intelligent. But I'm gonna need I hope. This has been the longest year, and it's only February 15th. It's been the longest year, and I'm just like, wow. So Marmac wants to give an example of the last time I used the N-word. Well, I will say, honestly, back in the day when I used to write, it wasn't nothing for me to flow and add the N-word in there, but I don't consider myself being woke. Not that I ever was asleep, but I probably was a little foggy with my understanding of the N-word because my culture, remember, I'm that generation. I come from that generation who slung it around. Not to say our grandparents didn't. Shout out to Richard Pryor. Shout out to those who came before us. They would use it, but you didn't hear it like you hear it now. When you heard it, it was in our culture. When we was doing our Black comedy, when we, it wasn't in music. You didn't hear them singing. Name one song. I'm not going to say it ever happened, but just for the world to hear, it wasn't put in there like that. So me using it, if I did use it, I would say this: I would be saying it in a derogatory way and referencing people who I feel have no class, are disrespectful, they're worthless and undesirable. That's how I would use it if I ever did. And there's been times when I've gotten upset enough to say that, but I use it. You know what? There was an incident where a white man did get called that. During the pandemic, we were at Trader Joe's too. It could have went way left too. And we were at Trader Joe's, and that's when you had to stand outside. You had to mask up, and you had to stand 6 feet apart. And so we were standing outside, and the guy in front of us, we were the last in line at that time. We walked up behind him. He was looking very flustered and frustrated. And I kind of gave him a nod of empathy because it was weird to have to stand outside in line. And everybody had a mask on in the line, distancing themselves. He was just huffing and puffing, hands on his hips. And he didn't have a mask on. He was the only person who didn't have a mask on. But anyway, the guy that worked there came to the end of the line and directed us to go ahead and walk in. And so he pointed to me and my sweetie And so knowing this guy was in front of me, I said, no, you can go first. And while I was telling him that, he was just huffing at me and puffing at me. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm trying to be nice. And he was like, and I'm like, is there a problem? I said, well, I just went off. Listen, you can get all my colorful adjectives. Y'all knew who my mama was. I know all the cuss words, one that even came out yet, okay? But anyway, so I was like, well, F you. You know what I'm saying? I you know how Esther did a Q on Friday when she came in peace and he slammed that gate in her face? I gave him one of them on Esther's from Friday. And I was like, what's your problem? And he was like, we're supposed to be 6 feet apart. And I was like, MF, you're the only one out here with no mask on. I'm trying to be nice. And so, like I said, once he triggered me, he got them words. And so he was like, yeah, you watch your mouth or something. And my sweetie was like, told him he better shut up. And he was like, what? He was like, you heard her N-word. And he was looking confused. He was like, what just happened? Because again, this is a white guy. And I had my hands on my hip like, yeah, you heard me. And so in my mind, I was thinking if he said it back, yeah, I got bail money. That's all I was thinking. I got bail money. But he tucked his tail and he went on about his day after starting some mess. But you got to be careful though, because people will come out and take you out of your element. You know what I'm saying? I was at Trader Joe's. And that's what had happened. Yeah. So no, that's not my word of choice. And even when people say it around me, a lot of times they'll be like, excuse me, and then they'll go ahead and use it. And that, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a prune. I'm not all just uptight about it. I just don't like it in hip hop music. I don't like when I'm watching movies, even when, what was that Issa Rae, the TV show, y'all, that used to come on. Anyway, but they use that word a lot. And I guess that if that's who you are, you just keeping it 100. But come on now, y'all. People that enjoy our art, they don't need to hear all of that. And maybe you're not making it for them, but you're getting they money. And then they come out into public and they're like, well, why can't we use the word? You use it. Why can't we use it? And it's like, at some degree, they know they shouldn't be using. They understand why they shouldn't, but it's like contradictory to say, well, you can't use it because it's disrespectful. And then we want to put that, if it's GGA, this one we said we using the GGA when y'all said it's GGER. And I'm just like, really? It sounds the same though. Like, what it is. And even when I was watching, and that doesn't even float over because I watch TV and a lot of times I watch it in closed caption because y'all know how with my ears set up. And so again, I'm hearing and seeing and reading at the same time. And the guy is saying the N-word, a black man, with the GA, but the captions is putting the N-word with the ER. And so I'm arguing with the caption, like, y'all racist, everybody racist, captions racist. So instead of even having that conflict, we're having to be able to look at people sideways for where you coming from when you say that, or deciding who can say it and when it's appropriate to say. Why even give people any type of inclination that it's okay to use it when it's in music or whenever? I mean, if you're saying it as a form of expression, like you're telling a story, shout out to the Huckleberry Finn book. If y'all haven't read that, I think it was required reading in elementary school. It's one of the banned books, but I think they use the N-word like 19 times, like 19 times in the book. And it was, dealing with someone who, dealing with slavery and, the subject matter. But yeah, 19 times. But back then, the N-word was not so taboo. The only people who didn't like to hear it or felt that it was inappropriate were Black people. Okay, so it is what it is. Yeah, and then Chrissy's adding to the conversation. They want their music to stream with all people, but they get mad when anyone other than Black people sing the N-word part. So make it make sense. That's what I'm saying. They should stop adding it to their music. We don't need it. And here's the thing. Like back in the day, and if you listen to older music from our greats, I'll even include Nas in there, just a lot of the great hip hop artists, rappers, and MCs in the past. Look, here you go. We got an antagonist in the chat now. Okay. Who's tripping specifically? Somebody in the chat saying that N-word's tripping with GGA. So who's tripping? But I didn't went on. I go from subject to subject. Oh, you probably talking about the guy at Trader Joe's, huh? Yeah, he was tripping. Yeah, he ain't want no smoke though. And I'm glad because I come in peace. I'm not wishing. I ain't like Cedric. I ain't wishing nothing, but I'm ready. But like I said, y'all know who my mommy is, so I stay ready. But So yeah, like some of our greats back in the day, you would hear them use the F word, which is a derogatory connotation for gay people. In the UK, using the F word, that's Faggot, I think it's spelled. It's a cigarette, but here in the United States, it's a term to disrespect someone who may be gay. You don't hear that in new music. These same artists that's using the N word aren't saying the F word. And then you used to hear back in the day, they would shorten the word Arab to Arab, and it's like we getting Arab money. And I'm using this is an example of just using something as an example of explaining the story. I'm not being derogatory. I'm not saying that as an expression to someone. I'm not using it in a form of entertainment. I'm using it to tell a story. So just so you guys understand what I'm talking about. So you would hear that in music, we getting Arab money, and that the Arabic culture said, no, that's disrespectful. You don't hear that anymore. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things related to the Jewish community that, people were saying in hip hop, true or false. But when the Jewish community came for them, you don't hear it in our music anymore. All you hear is us talking about us, using the derogatory terms like the N word, calling our women out of their name, to the point now women do it. I mean, it's just a thing. Like I said, we have our moments. We can have our terms of endearment for, girls in the privacy of ourselves. Some of us may, call each other that or this, that, or whatever we say. But publicly, we letting people think it's okay to call us out of our name, and to the point where even women are saying it. I see, how back in the day, it was like, I wanted to be a lawyer, or I wanted to be an attorney. People would say things like that, their aspirations. Now you hear people say, I just want to be a bad bitch. What is that exactly? And why would you want to be that? Earth, are you barking too? Like, what's going on here? Like, as a human, you are the highest form of living civilization. I mean, you're above a dog. You do know that, right? But now this is the world we live in. This is the times we live in. We've gotten so comfortable. And this is why history is important, because I think if people pay more attention to the significance of the words they use, and how, damaging they are, and how they affected the people that you love that came before you, are the reason why you're actually here, because they lived through this drama of being lynched, castrated, and having their genitals placed in their mouth before they died, and hearing the last words be the N word, however you want to spell it, being disrespectful. Yeah, we can do the history on it, right? We could talk about it and say, oh, they stole a word, they couldn't pronounce it right, and so they started calling us that. Okay, whatever. But we know here in the United States, it's used as a derogatory term, and we know that we don't want certain people saying it to us, but we put it in our music. So that's all I'm saying. Like, make it make sense. It's just so many other words we can use. And regardless of whether you think you're a leader or not, you are. Somebody smaller than you is looking up because you're bigger. People are always looking for a way. They're looking for their way. And even if you're not trying to lead, you are. You are. That's why the lingo evolves. We turn, no cap. Different things we say is because we look to each other for ways to communicate, and then it becomes a popular thing. So nobody came on social media and said, I'm the mother of slang, and these are the words we're using for 2024, 2025. No, we just started using it, and people that we probably enjoyed listening to, we heard them say it, and then we started saying it and just caught on, and that's what it is. So it's people out here that think they can use the N word, but what do you say to them when you put it in your music? And why? Just take it out. I mean, this one freaking word. And like I said, a lot of people that I know don't feel the way I feel. Like, it's nothing to them. Like I said, being at a community party with mixed races, I ask people, how does it make you feel? When you hear people, use the N word around people that aren't of our race, they're like, oh, it doesn't bother me. And I'm like, so I get it. And I'm objective. I don't have to, just because someone doesn't agree with me doesn't mean that, their opinion doesn't matter. I kind of just do a tally. Like I said, I take a consensus, I take a tally to get the consensus of what people are really thinking. But then I know a lot of people that think like me as well. We had in the chat, like, yeah, y'all get mad when people outside of our race use it, but you put it in your music. And it's like, you don't need to put it in your music. You don't. If you want people, you have to teach people how to treat you. You know what I'm saying? And in the same way that people watch porn in the privacy of their home, I think that the N word is an explicit word. It's very explicit. Maybe you should just only use that in the privacy of your home if need be. But you're not driving around playing people bumping and grinding and hunching and crunching or whatever they doing, dipping their load, rubbing bellies. You're not just doing that in public. That's something you do in the privacy of your home if that's what you choose to do, because you know that it's offensive. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that it could be disrespectful, and you know that it's going to be triggering, and it's not cool for society. Like, we all have to live here, and your rights end where mine meet. So you can't cross over and take away my right to have peace of mind because you want to use disrespectful language in front of my elder or in front of my child or just in public in front of people who I'd rather not let them feel any kind of way, that they can just say what they want to say to me, because in a way, we're giving them a pass. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to know, how do y'all feel about that? Are you bothered by it? Would you be okay if they just took that word out? You know what I'm saying? If your favorite rapper was referencing what he was on, if he was doing a drive-by, I drove by on that brother, it's going to change the whole vibe. And that's a good thing, right? Because we need to stop talking ill of each other. We need to stop having so much aggression toward each other. We need to focus more on love and peace, because we got to come together. Even if we're not friends, we have a common interest. We all trying to just stay alive. We all have a common interest. We're all trying to maintain. And the things that we're fighting about, the generations coming after us, they fight about stuff you post on social media. You know what I'm saying? But just imagine just changing the word. Like, brother, I'll come over there and slap you. I mean, it's not fighting words anymore. But the minute you say the N word, I don't care if you think because you black and that person black, it's a negative connotation. So to say N word, I'll come over there and slap you sound way different than brother, I'll come over there and slap you. Like, it's like you just want to hug now, right? Like, when I come over there, you ain't getting slapped. It's going to be a hug. Right. I agree. But it's some people out here that want to be bad N words too. You know what I'm saying? But you hear that. Like, I even hear, that's across the board when it comes to being a bad bitch. It don't matter what race, because I've heard white women, but they say it with such seriousness. Like, I want to be a bad bitch. I'm a bad bitch. And I mean, these are educated people. I mean, some of these people have degrees or doctors. They're in the medical field. They're in the law field. Either they're in educational, they're you know what I'm saying, they know how to read. You know what I'm saying? They probably did a little knowledge on what they want out of life, but this is how they articulate themselves. They want to be a bad bitch. It's little girls aspiring to be bad bitches, because grown-ass women aspire to be bad bitches, and it's young boys that aspire to be the realest NIGGA, because their elders profess to be the realest NIIGGA. Okay, so we can come together, just that simple. I'm reading this book. I just pulled it off my shelf. I've had it for a while. The Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and what brought me to pull it off my shelf is one of the shows I listened to on Sirius XM with Larry Daniel Favors. She's going through this book chapter for chapter, and so I said, I got this book. All right, so I got another book club now. Y'all know I have my other book club that we're doing now. We're reading a book in celebration and recognition of Black History Month, and that book is Black Fortunes. And so that's a pretty good book. I think it references 6, and again, I'm coming off the top of my head now because I don't have my notes, but I remember 6 people who survived post-slavery and became millionaires. And it tells a story of how they did it. Again, that's Black Fortunes, the book. They tell the story of how they did it, and what it entailed. It was even one story, and I might be mixing up stories. I can't remember if this was actually in the book or another book I'm reading. So I got a bunch of books I'm reading right now. But similar to this story, there was a Black man who owned restaurants. He invested in real estate along with other Black business owners. Remember, this is right after slavery. They found a way, and it even goes into how much money they had or how they borrowed. You learn so much on how we can incorporate how they did it with less, how we can use their blueprint to do that right here and now. So Black Fortunes is a really good book to pick up. And I'm just into the 5th chapter, and I'm going to go all the way back from the beginning again, because I need to take notes, because it was a lot of jewels being dropped, and I was listening to it. So I was kind of moving around and not being able to, absorb everything. I know I'm forgetful, but anyway, 6 people in this book, how they came to millionaire status. Even Madam C.J. Walker's in there as well. But one of the interesting story was the realtor. He had about a real estate property and how he got it or whatnot. But he had one restaurant that he allowed Black people to patronize, and then he had an oyster bar that he only allowed white people to patronize. So he was a Black man who had a whites only restaurant. And off on the surface, you're like, dang, that's some Uncle Tommy stuff, even though Uncle Tom ain't the bad guy. If y'all go read that book and learn more about Uncle Tom, even that term is that's used um, to be derogatory is really pop your collar if somebody call you that. But anyway, go read the story on it. Maybe I could talk about that again next week to give you a little history on Uncle Tom. But anyway, so he had a whites only restaurant, but guess what he did with that money? You know what I'm saying? He took that money that them white people was paying to come in there and eat good, and he funneled that into the civil rights movement. So he was putting that money into the civil rights movement. So you see how that works, how we can all work together. People could have been like, and I don't know, maybe there is some history where people were looking at him and talking about him sideways because he had a whites only restaurant, but I don't know. But I'm thinking if they weren't, they understood the science of it and they respected his gangster. So Black Fortunes is a great book to pick up, you guys, because again, it gives you the blueprint on how to build businesses, how we can come together with little money to make moves. Because a lot of people who helped to get the civil rights movement and the things that we benefit from today, just not having to step off the sidewalk, literally, when a white person is coming up the street. These things were funded by people who were in the entertainment industry, and they weren't singing the N-word. You know what I'm saying? They were, wooing us, singing life stories, but they weren't being disrespectful to us. But they were also Aretha Franklin, Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier. These people probably weren't on the front line, with their fists up and their afros, but the money that they were earning from the entertainment industry, they funneled into the civil rights movement. And this is where we are today. So we can't be to me, I don't think it's fair for us to be so disrespectful and be so loose with our lips using the N-word when it's not necessary. You know how many words there are? How many words there are in the English language? I mean, there's so many different ways to articulate a disgusting, undesirable person. And it don't have to be the N-word. And if you say it in a way without using that, you're educating people who are listening, because now they got to lick their index finger and go through the dictionary and, oh, what the hell did he just say? And learn something new. So you're teaching somebody something. You're not teaching me anything by using an N-word. Only thing that you're teaching me, or I'll say that I'm learning, is your vocabulary is, it gets real short when it comes to articulating what you really, really feel about certain things, And so that's where I am with that. But shout out to Black History Month. We are in the 15th day of Black History, and I'm so happy. Like I said, I'm gonna be blackety black. I'm black every day, 365 days. But Black History Month, I think we definitely need to big up and be proud and celebrate us in a way that we probably don't do daily or as much as we should. Because I'm learning, just watching certain people on social media saying they're talking to the kids, and some of them don't know that the story. They just know that I have a dream speech about Martin Luther King. They don't know that his mother was assassinated, as well as his brother who drowned in a pool. I think he was 15, and just other stories that tie all this in together, so people can really understand the impact of people who really sacrificed their lives for us to have what we have today. And we want to be bumping our jaws saying the N-word, something that we shouldn't be doing. And I don't know if MLK ever used it. Definitely not publicly, maybe amongst his peers. But like I said, this shouldn't be in our music. Why is the N-word in it? Why is the N-word in it? Help me understand why you feel the need to use the N-word, Marmac. But just to shout out some of the great inventions, if you guys don't know, a lot of things were created here by Black Americans that, historically they will never be recognized for, because they were not allowed to get patents. They couldn't have anything in their name. They couldn't be recognized for anything. And so it's a lot that we don't know, but for what we do know that we're learning and discovering is that, we make this world go round. And we've done that in a major way, from simple things to some things that, are a little bit more complex. You think about stoplights, you think about just all the different things. But a Black person invented video game cartridges. A Black person invented the Super Soaker, and I think just won a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the big Super Soaker company for his patent. Shout out to that brother. A Black man. Well, you think about Henrietta Lacks, remember, we're benefiting from that to this day. Her cells, they took this woman's cells and come to find out that her cells from her uterus helped to cure a lot of different diseases, and did not give her family credit for it, and still to this day use it. So shout out to Henrietta Lacks. So we doing a lot here in this country that we haven't been recognized for. We still doing a lot of things that we are not being recognized for, and I just want to big us up and just celebrate that. And is the price of chicken up too? Because I know eggs are up, but I'm hearing that the eggs come from chickens, right? Just help me understand, y'all. I'm not slow, but eggs come from chicken. But everybody's complaining about the price of eggs, but the chickens are also being slaughtered because they're not healthy. So is the price of chicken going up too? Because nobody's complaining about that. And now I'm hearing that even it's getting into the meat, the beef, the cows. The cows are getting it. The bird flu is highly contagious. You can just be, anywhere where there's droppings of bird droppings, and that's you can ingest it some kind of way. You can and get it. And there has been one case reported here in Nevada. I don't know how well they're keeping up records anymore because we don't hear much about it because we have a new regime that doesn't think that people knowing the status that doesn't understand health and wellness and having people in positions to help maintain disease and make people aware and to be prepared or just aware of what's going on. They don't think that that's important. They have other intentions. So you got to know these people are evil, evil, evil. And how evil are you when you're shutting down people's jobs? You're taking money away from just you think about the certain divisions of the educational system that's being cut down. The percentage of what they're taking away is so low, like it's not putting a dent in our deficit, but they're closing it down because they're saying for corruption, but you're hurting good people. You're even hurting your own constituents, people who voted for you and probably still support you and think you just made a mistake, because you got dumb people out there just making blanket decisions, not even analyzing how it's going to affect everybody, not just people who don't support you. And then, at the end of the day, if they would have just listened to us, these constituents, the thing about it is you would have known if you'd have listened to us that they don't care. They do not care about you. They just use you as a stepping stone. And when they get through, they send your sorry butt home. Okay. So you got this president pulling up to the Super Bowl, 18 million, I think it was, or more. Okay. Shout out to the Pakistani, Brooklyn bred Pakistani traveler, something like that. Black woman from Brooklyn traveling to Pakistani tomorrow. She need so many K or more. I got time today. But anyway, so first president. And you wonder why maybe no other presidents decided to go to the Super Bowl because 18 million is a lot to spend. They spend, double digits for the Secret Service, double digits for extra security, extra metal detectors, double digits to bomb scan, double digits for travel, like in millions is what I'm saying when I say double digits. All this money equating as high as $18 million just for this man to be present and leave during halftime. But he wants to convince those who are drinking the Kool-Aid and are supporters of this person that he cares about the deficit. And for the record, Republicans always drive up the deficit and they always inherit a good economy when it's passed over from a Democratic president or administration. Y'all can research that as well. You can just go to your search engine and hit search. So yeah, but I just wish that we could find another way to articulate ourselves because it is bothersome. And I'm just looking at this, the story talking about the history of the N-word. They say that it was a Latin word, an adjective, N-I-G-R, Niger, meaning black, and it was initially seen as a relatively neutral term, essentially synonymous with the English word Negro, and early attested using during the anti-Atlantic slave trade, as we know of, and then it became a derogatory term, a racial slur. By the mid-19th century, it was, real big, and up until a part of the 20th century, authors and public speakers, presidents, anybody just used the word, without, like it was nothing. And the only thing that slowed them down was the civil rights movement, when we had laws in place that made it unlawful for them to use certain words publicly to us, to our face, without, it being a violation. And, if somebody hits you, you get to hit back now, right? It's called self-defense. And so, it was our tax dollars. It was our tax dollars that went our tax dollars went for y'all's president to come to the Super Bowl show and leave at halftime and then get on Twitter and tweet about how horrible it was and talk about Taylor Swift and whatnot. But yeah, so this N word, you know, we know what it is. Like, I don't have to go into all of the explanation of it, but reading this book, the post traumatic slave syndrome, it talks about how we are where we're at. Because y'all know me, when people talk about my people, I'm going to be on the defense. Even if I think what they're doing is inappropriate, when we talk about gang violence, when we talk about drug abuse, when we talk about single family homes, and we talk about how people speak about themselves. This book, The Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, takes you back, and it helps you understand why people are where they are, because they were culturally conditioned to feel the way that they feel about each other. Joe Madison used to say, in America, we are culturally conditioned to believe that white is superior and black is inferior. And the manifestation of that is that we are underestimated, we are undervalued, and there was another term, marginalized. And that is what the world we live in. And imagine, I talk about this all the time, from out of the womb, you are conditioned to look at yourselves. First of all, you're being called black. You're not being called by way of where you came from. You know, if you're Mexican, if you're from Mexico, you're called Mexican. If you're from Africa, you're called African. We just got this label, and it was Negro before then. But you're conditioned. You get this label, and then they tell you how awful black is, like, in not just in terms of humanity, but in color, but in evil. And anything that's black is considered negative. Your hair, they wanted you to cover them. They wanted black women to keep their hair covered before the civil rights era, because they didn't want other people to admire it. And then we started feeling a way about our hair because it wasn't flowy, because all we saw on TV was straight stringy hair. And so we didn't admire our own selves. I mean, even when we had our own parties, we had a brown paper bag rule. Black people would not let other black people in the club if they were darker than the brown paper bag. Not white people, black people did this to themselves. So there's a lot of traumatic stress going on, a lot of conditioning, a lot of things we have to unlearn and undo. And so I'm sympathetic to that. I understand why people are the way they are, but at the same time, it does not take away the fact that you have to be at some point accountable and do the knowledge. Don't let them bury the books and hide the books. They say you put money in the book, I bet your bitch wouldn't find it. Yeah, because they've also been conditioned not to read, right? They've been conditioned not to do the knowledge. That's the first thing they want to take away from you in any society, is access to knowledge and information. So they deny you the right to read. And black people were done that. So they did everything they could to tear us down. And now we're trying to build ourselves back up. So just speaking of building up, I'm going to talk about this guy. Okay, this is 19 Keys. Like I said, shout out to my brother who sent me a YouTube video of him on the Breakfast Club. Let me get my Wendy Williams on. And I always say I'm not going to be here long, but here I am. But yeah, so he was on the Breakfast Club, 19 Keys. And I learned later that he is a public speaker. I think he is a rapper. He's really big on the Block World Order. So what I learned about him is that his actual name is Jabril Muhammad. He's an influential entrepreneur and author. And he's known for motivational self-help content. He focused on financial literacy and empowerment within the Black community. He's also recognized again for the Block World Order, which aims to enhance mental, physical, and financial well-being. His work emphasizes the belief in unlimited human potential and encourages individuals to transition from slave-ship to ownership. So he was speaking my language. He was really speaking my language, and I was really feeling him and what he had to say. And then he got to a certain point, and then I just shut down. And so I'm going to play a few clips to kind of get you up to where I was. He was some of the positive things he said, if you're not familiar with him, just to kind of give you guys a little touch of what I was listening to as far as this conversation. I'm also trying to pull up the clip as well. So that's why y'all hear me pausing. But just to give you a little touch of what he's about and how he speaks. So let me try to pull this up. Of course, it takes longer when you're trying to find something and you're live. But, like I said, he really and still is to me inspirational. So I'm going to start the first clip where he's talking about something he said that was inspirational and speaking to, Black people, how we think differently. Like we work to live. We don't, we just don't. We just work to live. We just go to work. We don't have any goals outside of that. We don't consider generational wealth. We don't consider, working as a means to live the life that we dream to live. And one of the ways he spoke to how we can enhance that would be using the Ikigai. And I think this was an Asian way of life. And he talked about that. So let me see if I can pull that up and give you guys a little taste of that. And that's coming right now.
It's something that the world needs, right? And that could be anything from a janitor to a barber. The world needs it. But then you also have to have something that makes money. So they don't have a real idea of retirement, because why would you retire for something that you love to do? So this is about QOL instead of GDP. What is the quality of life, right? Right now, the quality of life index in America is very low, right? People are not happy at all. The elites are continuing to rise asset prices, and they got the people on Twitter and Instagram scapegoating each other as the problem, not looking at the managerial ruling class as the one who have all the power behind the scenes, right? So the goal would then be saying, okay, how do we change the quality of life for everybody? People can't afford goddamn eggs right now. That's a problem. So now we know that we need to create our own parallel world, because capitalism is at a point where it's unsustainable. So the government is trying to figure out, how does America maintain power, compete globally all across the world, right? And then as they're waning in population to continue to be the majority on the planet Earth, they saying, let's just replace the brain trust that we've always had. Let's replace the workforce of the bodies, because I don't think we can continue to control the next generation to come unless we completely have them immersed in our own matrix. And so what is that disruption? It's saying Black people saying, and other people across the planet Earth that believe in this, saying that let's just opt out. Let's opt out. Right. Because at this point in time, nothing that we do matters if we're using these systems. And it ain't about another leader. It ain't about a hero. It's just about systems. Systems that we create. And when we have a vision of those systems, you realize that actually we have the engineers, the developers, the architects, the creators, the financiers. We have people that believe in it, because even the rich class right now, they're afraid of their children's future.
So the clip that I wanted to play, this was building up to it, but I guess I was at the wrong mark. But he was talking about the Ikigai, and he says, he adopted that from, I think it was a Asian way of living, but it's still in effect. And he said, the first thing you do is you mark something. You find something that you're good at, right? When it comes to working, we're talking about, something where you will not even look at it as work, but the way to get into something that is beneficial to not only your livelihood, but to the community, is you find something that you're good at, you find something that you love, and then you find the people, you find out what the people need. And so you incorporate them three things. And under this structure, you'll never feel the need to retire, because you're doing something that you love. So I like the way he came with that. And then he went to speak on about hip hop. And this is, I was really engaged with this because it kind of leaned toward my take on it. Hip hop does need to be, we need a facelift on hip hop. I agree. And one of the things he spoke to was that we are teaching people how to treat us, and that the culture that we present to people is how they present themselves to us. So when I'm talking about the N-word, that's what I'm saying. People think that they can just say whatever, because we just, we think there's nothing wrong with that. And so I have this at the 24 market. Okay. And so let me see if I can get this, if I have it at the right mark, when he talks about, how hip hop is being affected. So let me just, I almost had it, y'all. And I thought it was pretty interesting. And then we'll get into more of what he had to say. So let me just let it build up.
We have the end death culture in hip hop. Okay. It's what I call fast culture. It's like fast food culture. You know what I'm saying? It's just for fast consumption and capitalism. It's not for culture creation and values. It has no consciousness built into it. And it doesn't have the framework or the foundation and a reason to have hip hop. And then we make hip hop too important, right? And what I mean by that is that hip hop is a part of our culture. It is not the culture, right? What our culture really is that we revolutionaries. And we've always been. Throughout the history of this country, we've been the most revolutionary people on the planet. We've created the more conscious movements ever, right? When it comes to food, when it comes to health, when it comes to science, when it comes to consciousness, when it comes to activism, and it has benefited all people around the planet. But when I go to Africa, they're going to know 50 Cent before they know Malcolm X. So now they're not judging me based on Malcolm. They judging me based on 50. You know what I'm saying? They judging me based on what we export to other countries that become our image. So now if they see you as a nigga, the first thing they gonna say is, "What's up, my nigga?" And I'm like, bro, I would rather you say, "What's up, God," to me. You know what I'm saying? But they don't see you like that because they only can afford so much internet and so much time in the first place. They only get cheap entertainment that's exported, that's not even controlled by us. So
So you see what I'm saying? So he went on to, to explain his perspective on the N word and how, we're putting that into hip hop. We're influencing people globally to make them feel comfortable, because they're not talking to each other. People that look like us aren't calling themselves that on the continent of Africa unless they're starting to adapt our way of life, which we've seen how contagious our culture is. Because remember, gang violence was really I'll just say the Bloods and the Crips was a big thing on the West Coast. So when we started seeing people on the East Coast who used to think, look at people like they was 3 feet tall for, fighting over a color. Now you see on the East Coast, you see these people adopting colors now. They Bloods and Cuz and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So that's how contagious our culture is. People just do things because they think that's what it is. Yeah, Chrissy. Yeah, I was feeling him too. Yeah. And so I was into it. I was very engaged. And I was like, okay, 19 Keys, I hear you. I hear you. And so when he said, yeah, I don't want to be greeted as the N word. I want you to call me God. That sounds more appropriate. And I was like, right. And so I'm listening on. And so then you know how they do on Sway in the Morning Show. They came back and was like, all right, we're putting you on the spot now. We need you to freestyle. And so he was with it. And so he went ahead and did his freestyle. So I'm going to play that as well and start that over. So this is when it kind of threw a loop for me, because remember, you heard everything he was saying and how, we developed a culture, and then we need to do better explaining who we are so that people know and understand when we travel from continent to continent who they're greeting, right? Okay, so that was that.
You know what I'm saying? It's just for fast consumption and capitalism. It's not for culture creation and values. It has no consciousness built into it. And it doesn't have the framework or the foundation and a reason to have hip hop. And then we make hip hop too important.
So we heard this.
And what I mean by that is that
I'm gonna speed it up a little bit, and I'm gonna go to him talking about when they're getting ready to freestyle. Sorry, I don't have no producer on here with me. I'm doing this, and I'm trying to fast forward to the part I want to get to with him rapping. Let's see.
Judging me based on Malcolm. Look at the real.
So, okay. So I'm trying to find a clip. Isn't this something? I had it ready to go and now I don't, and that sucks. So, but anyway, so he's starting off with this rap, and he uses the N-word. He actually uses the N-word. And I'm just like, what, didn't you? Okay, so he starts off in this rap and literally uses the N-word. And I'm just like, what had happened? Like, what had happened? And so, yeah, unfortunately, I don't want to waste a lot of time trying to pull it up. But literally in the beginning of the song, he was rapping, and then he went on to use the N-word. And so this is what I'm talking about. Like, a wise and intelligent man. He has a lot of jewels he's dropped. I picked up a lot of what he was putting down. But why did you feel the need to incorporate that into the song? And I wish I could go ahead and play it for context. But he used the N-word. Okay, that's what had happened. Okay. And so why do we feel the need to do this? He didn't have to do that. You saw he used big words. His memory was really sharp. He could reference a lot of things, but yet he fell back on that. And that really just threw me for a loop. And it made me think about, what is in a name? Like, why should we be sensitive to what people call us? I was thinking about, just listening to some of the speeches or interviews that Malcolm X did and how he would correct people, even in an interview he did with someone back in the day, where they were, trying to get him to tell him what his last name was. And he told them X. And he's like, well, what name were you born with? And he said, I go by X. And he explained to him that name did not belong to him. That name belonged to the slave master. And he was named and that his family took on that name because they technically belonged to him. So he was not going to use that name. He thought it was very disrespectful for them to be called by the slave master. And so it made all the sense to me. And so let me just pull up that clip as well when he's referencing that with Malcolm X in this interview.
What is your real name? Malcolm X. Is that your legal name? As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name. Have you been to court to establish this? I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith. Excuse me for answering you this way.
Right.
That's all right. If a Chinese person were to say his name was Patrick Murphy, you would look at him like he's insane, because Murphy is an Irish name, a European name, or the name that has a Caucasian or white background. And a yellow person, Chinese is a yellow man, and he has nothing to do or no connection whatsoever with the name Murphy. And if it doesn't look proper for a person who is yellow or Chinese to be walking around named Murphy or Jones or Johnson or Bunch or Powell, I think it would be just as improper for a black person or the so-called Negro in this country, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to walk around with these names. And therefore, he teaches us that during slavery, the same slave master who owned us put his last name on us to denote that we were his property. What is your real name?
Okay. And so again, this is a white man interviewing him, asking him what is his real name. And so he gave him the history of his real name, and the X represents unknown. Unlike in comparison to y'all's real president, Elon Musk, his son is also named X, which stands for something else. I can't pronounce his name, but it starts with the letter X, and then it has some other letters of the alphabet. But his short name is for X. But we know in Malcolm X, the X represented unknown. And for those of you, just a little bit of history, he was born, in a time where, they used conch. So he had his hair permed and, was living a street life. They called him Detroit Red. He wore zoot suits and had his libations and loved white women, white girls and everything. Anyways, he ended up going into jail. And that's when he converted to Islam in 1960, in the 60s. But once he was released, he did make his pilgrimage to Mecca, and he renamed himself El Hajj Malik El Shabab. That was in 1964. So converted from Malcolm Little, from Detroit Red, to, as we know him, as Malcolm X, again, El Hajj Malik El Shabab. And so after that, he joining the Nation of Islam. At that time, it was like 400 members, and in 1952, it had went up to 40,000 members by 1960. Him and who was it? Muhammad Ali. They were good friends, but they ended up having a falling out, and then that was interesting. So their falling out was basically because after Malcolm X had his pilgrimage and started learning more about society as a whole, and speaking to his own understanding that the Muslim culture was not just isolated to Black people. The people of all shades, all what we consider race here, but all shades of the spectrum were Muslim, and that they studied Islam. And it was a very peaceful religion, or a peaceful way of life is what Islam is, a way of life. He embraced all people, not just Black people. And that kind of didn't sit well with Elijah Muhammad. But then later on, he ended up finding out that Elijah Muhammad also had secret underage women, and that was prohibited within the Islamic community. And so he kind of, was brokenhearted by that, and it turned him against the Nation of Islam, which made him have a falling out with Muhammad Ali. Also, once he started his understanding that all people, different shades love, have this way of life in the Islamic culture, that's when it became a problem. Because when we all unite, when we all come together and understand our force and our power, then that's when those who are trying to keep their foot on our necks come into it. And that's when the FBI got involved, and J. Edgar Hoover got involved and said that we have to do something about Malcolm X. And as you guys know, he succumbed to his death, being shot down doing a speech, and they tried to blame it on the Nation of Islam. Come to find out, the FBI isn't involved, and there are pending lawsuits as well. And then the same thing with Muhammad Ali. What's in the name, right? We real loose with our lists. We say what we say, but it means something. It means something when we say certain things. You think about Muhammad Ali, he was considered, a derogatory term to be called a Negro. He was born Cassius Clay, His grandfather was an enslaved man, and he converted to Islam at the age of 22. That's before his whole cerebral cortex was developed. But they say that doesn't fully develop. That's your brain until the age of 25. So he was on his way at the age of 22. He denounced the Christian religion, however, and his quote unquote slave name, Cassius Clay, and so he became Muhammad Ali. And so he was also, an activist. He wasn't, he was against the Vietnam War. He said he didn't want to go fight people that he ain't had no problem with them. They ain't had no problem with him. So why would he go fight these people? And so, he ended up being stripped of his belts because of that. But again, he was an activist in the entertainment world. And I don't remember hearing him say the N-word publicly either. So, yeah, if I didn't post it already. And so here's a clip from him talking about using the Negro term as well.
A Negro boy in the South.
You say black now.
All right, black. All right. Is it not the same thing?
What? No, Negro. We are talking all people are named after country. Chinese are named after China. Cubans are named after Cuba. Irish people are named after Ireland. Indonesians are named after Indonesia. Japanese are named after Japan. Australians are named after Australia. But there's no country named Negroes.
All right, then let me
understand.
I understand.
You're not as dumb as you look.
Let me rephrase. Do I look that dumb?
No, it's okay.
Okay. So you have to teach people how to speak to you, how to address you. It's not, it's for you to teach people how to speak to you and to respect you. Okay. Because you can't change the hearts and minds of people, but you can, make them be accountable for what they say and do. And that's why we have laws in effect. And that's why we're continuing to fight in a movement in these moments to bring about a movement. This is so important. So again, why is the N-word in it? Why can't we get rid of that? We don't need that. We're better than that. We definitely need to channel our ancestors and just consider what they experience. Imagine somebody you know and love just in this day and time. But sometimes you have to make it relatable, right? When we talk about R. Kelly, people still listen to his music and don't really feel a way about him because it wasn't your niece or nephew or someone you know and love that's close to you that was victimized by him. Had that been that way, you would not be playing his music or people be looking at you real strange, right? So, just to make it more relative, when we're talking about this N-word, think of someone right to this day and time that just gets snatched up and hung, and you're going to bury them next week, God forbid. But just an example, you're going to bury them next week. And the cops tell you, yeah, some Black people came and lynched this person. And the last words he heard was, die, N-I-G-G-E-R, N-I-G-G-A, whatever, playing one of your favorite hip hop artists talking about shooting up one of them N-words. Then it becomes personal. So to me, it's always personal because I know and understand that I wouldn't be here if people didn't withstand the things that they have to go through. And those are one of the things that they have to experience. And I don't ever want to downplay that, even if times change, if we relate to each other differently. Because to be honest with you, if times do change and people start to respect us the way that they should respect us, that word is going to go away. Because people are going to have so much love and respect for each other and for themselves that they're not going to use it. And people that love and respect us, we have white allies now that would never ask why they can't use the word. They don't want to use it because they internalize the same thing that some of us feel like that word is an awful word, even though now we've softened it up. You know what I'm saying? We've softened it up in our music and we make it socially acceptable per se. I know, what the people went through for centuries under, being disrespected. And I know that word to be very derogatory, especially to the people who were here before. So I would never, call on my ancestors in such a negative way. You know what I'm saying? So good people, good meaning people would never want to use that word. And I'm speaking about our allies, and they definitely wouldn't use it. And if they do, it was always in their heart. And, like they get bad and say it, it's no passes. That's what you felt. People say the truth when they mad, right? So again, shout out to 19 Keys, Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali. We didn't talk a lot about politics and get into all the shenanigans that's going on because, I kind of wanted to just inhale and exhale. And I said I wasn't going to be here. I say that every time in some kind of way I figure I can do it. I don't know why I can't do it. I can't, but I tried. I did. I tried to do this for just an hour, not more or more. But yeah, so Yeah, but I want to encourage you guys again to read, to partake in any Black History events going on if you're able to get out and support people, because that's another thing that's important, is that we are present, because then when we don't show up, if there's not money available for people to put on these events, and you can't complain when we don't have these events. Number two, your presence is the present. So, if you're able to get out and be a part of the events, check your local libraries. Just do an internet search to find different events that may be going on in your community, to show some support for people who love you and present, Black history entertainment for you. And then, we're doing our part. There's so much more we can do. And I just want to encourage you guys also to buy from Black farms. So go ahead and do an internet search to look for organic Black farmers, because we're learning now that a lot of the forever chemicals are going into the foods that we eat, not just in the plastic that we cook with. It's heated at a certain temperature that are in our nonstick skillets, but also in the soil and growing and being fed to animals and growing in our fruits and vegetables. So try to find you an organic Black farmer near you. And just to learn more about what states are actually being safer and the ones that are not, you can go to saferstates.org. If you want to find out what representatives are doing to protect you and, your food, because we know we're not going to be getting that information, from the FDA, I'm sorry, and other organizations, governmental organizations right now. But saferstates.org is a good place to go if you want to find out what's happening in your state. And there's also, I talked about last week before we close out, I mentioned that that I think that people in public positions, mayors, senators, congressmen, assemblymen, women, all of these people who are in public positions that we voted in should be out publicly, telling us every day. They should be trolling us like this. Y'all's president trolls us every day. Every day, this man is doing something different, and we know about it, good or bad, every single day. So there's a page, and I had this on my list, so now I got to go look them up. But there is a page you can go to, and every single day, so go Google something. Don't Google. Go to the internet search and type in what you want. Search for Democrats pages. Some of them you may be following on Instagram or other social media pages, and they'll let you know what they're doing every day. I'm still trying to look up the name, which I had here, but somehow I lost all of my notes. Let me just try one more thing before I close out with you guys. But they're now every single day, the Democratic Party is letting you know what they're doing. When they go into these meetings, they're posting every single day what they are doing, as far as, trying to make change. And I'm just so sorry I don't have it up, but yeah, I had it on my page, and I want to say it was Jamal. Yeah, sucks. Let's see. Yeah, Malcolm Kenyatta. Hey, okay. So go to Malcolm Kenyatta's page, and he will direct you to other Democratic sites where you can get information. But every single day, they're committed to posting what Democrats did today. So posted February 13th, every single Senate Democrat voted against the confirmation of RFK Jr. Senate Democrats successfully blocked Elon Musk Dodge from assessing sensitive department or educational data. Government Josh Shapiro is taking legal action to defend the Pennsylvania's funding from the Trump administration. Arizona Democrats passed legislation to provide funding for free school lunches. And Representative Pamela Jayapal introduced her We the People amendment to reverse the Citizens United decision. That was on February 13th. So go to his page again. That's Malcolm Kenyatta. He is a representative. Is he in DC? Malcolm Kenyatta. He is. Yeah, he's a Democrat, but Pennsylvania state rep. Okay, so go there, and if you want to find out what they're doing, because that's the problem we have during the election, right? People are like, well, what are they doing? And some of these things may not be significant to you, but you need to know and understand that these people are going to work. They're clocking in, and they actually are trying to protect our democracy and maintain livable lives for us. On the list of the WhiteHouse.gov, y'all's president committed to reducing rental and housing costs and food costs within 30 days. So that was posted. When did he go into office? Was that the 6th? The 6th? When he was inaugurated, the 12th in January. He was inaugurated in January. So I'm, 30 days from the date of the inauguration, we should have lower rent costs. We should have lower mortgage rates. We should have lower food costs. And if you don't see that, yeah, there's no excuses because everything else he's managing to do. Okay. So, all right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out with your girl. I know y'all, I know what I said. Y'all know I just be saying stuff. Y'all know I be trying to, I be meaning it. I do mean it. And I'm sorry to keep you so long, but I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me for so long. Thank you so much, Christy. I appreciate you, for shouting out your girl. Yeah, it's a labor of love. I enjoy this being with you guys. And I just want to go ahead and thank you all for watching and chatting. And y'all know how I gotta get my applause in for y'all. All right, so that's it. I am your host, Latoya. Again, if you like the show, go to YouTube and hit subscribe. Tell your friends about it. You can like, you can share. If you have any topics that you would like for me to discuss, please feel free to hit me up. Go down in my DMs. You know what I'm saying? Go down in the DMs and let me know what you're thinking. Okay. All right. I love you guys. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. And for those of you watch on another day, I hope your day goes just as well. And yeah, I might be back next week. We'll see. All right. Love you.